When James Bond actor Sean Connery died in 2020, he was 90. Over the course of his 9 decades, the actor accomplished a great many things, including being knighted by the Queen of England. However, Sean apparently spent the final moments of his life slowly wasting away from dementia. Although his widow claims he passed away peacefully, he was nowhere near the man he used to be upon his death. Join Factsverse as Sean Connery's widow reveals what his final moments were like. During the final months of his life, Sean Connery's quality of living was drastically altered by his dementia. The actor suffered from the condition severely during his last days and eventually succumbed at age 90 in 2020. The James Bond actor passed away at his home in the Bahamas, and his widow claims he died the way he had always anticipated and hoped he was going to after his retirement from the industry in the 2000s. His widow is Micheline Roquebrune, who was married to Connery for well over 4 decades. She was one of only 2 wives Sean claimed during his life, though the actor had affairs with many women during his time in Hollywood. His first wife was Diane Cilento, who claimed Sean abused her during their marriage. Before his death, Sean faced controversy for remarks he made regarding whether or not he thought it was okay to hit a woman, and those remarks substantiated the abuse claims. But he seems to have treated his second wife much better. Micheline has a much more favorable opinion of her late husband than his first wife did. She claims she had a hard time witnessing her longtime husband deteriorate and was glad he was able to pass away peacefully. Of course, Sean Connery remains better known for being the first and arguably most fondly remembered actor to portray James Bond on film. His first appearance as the character came in the 1962 film Dr. No, and he subsequently played the character several more times before passing on the torch to a variety of different actors. Besides Dr. No, he can also be seen playing Bond in From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever, and Never Say Never Again. His final appearance as the character came in 1983, and it was only a few more decades before the actor chose to retire altogether. Although numerous actors have stepped into the role of James Bond, many consider Sean's Bond to be the most iconic. He's still the standard that most new Bond actors are forced to measure up to. And all the subsequent Bond actors were quick to pay tribute to the legend in the wake of his passing. The most recent Bond is Daniel Craig, who credited Sean with helping shape his critically acclaimed portrayal of the character. According to widow Micheline Roquebrune, Sean Connery's final wishes were to have his ashes scattered partially in his homeland of Scotland and partially in his more recent home of the Bahamas. Micheline made a vow to fulfill his wish, though travel restrictions as a result of COVID-19 made fulfillment impossible in the immediate wake of his passing. Hopefully, she has managed to make good on her promise to her late husband. But she has been dealing with accusations of tax fraud lately and may even end up facing jail time if found guilty. The last known photo of Sean Connery featured him alongside his son Jason at age 89. Jason is the child of Sean and Diane Cilento, and Sean maintained a close relationship with him up until his death. At the time of his death, Sean had been retired from the entertainment industry for well over a decade, in the wake of the much-maligned 2003 blockbuster, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Factsverse for more. And stick around for a lot more about Sean Connery. Despite Connery's immense success as James Bond, he had a hard time maintaining his critical and commercial acclaim later in his career. This was due predominantly to poor choices when it came to projects. There were numerous roles throughout the 90s and early 2000s that Sean Connery reportedly turned down in favor of taking parts in features that ended up commercially underperforming. Some of the roles he turned down reportedly include Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Morpheus in The Matrix, and John Hammond in Jurassic Park. He felt these projects weren't going to be successful. Instead, Sean Connery chose to take part in features such as 2003's The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which was so poorly received it caused the author of the source material to refuse to allow his name to be credited on any subsequent adaptation. Despite the hard time Sean Connery had later in his career, he did have a few notable successes after retiring as James Bond. One of these later successes came via his portrayal of Indiana Jones's father in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Harrison Ford even campaigned to have Sean eventually come back and portray his father in a future film, though these plans never came to fruition. Another late career success for Sean Connery was the Michael Bay film The Rock, which cast Sean alongside Nicolas Cage. The film was received positively by critics and audiences, and proved Sean Connery still had everything it took to be an action star in 1996. Sadly, his retirement came less than a decade later, though not so much as a result of lack of ability as his lack of success with choosing jobs. Connery became a household name thanks to James Bond, but he grew tired with playing the character soon after the premiere of Dr. No. He continued working on subsequent features for money and out of obligation to the producers. After he quit the first time, he came back to reprise the role once officially and once in the non-canon feature Never Say Never Again. Despite the fact Connery's career took a downward trajectory starting in the 80s, he still had several major successes, as well as ones during the 90s. After retiring from James Bond, his first career revival came in the form of his role in the 1987 feature The Untouchables. The hit gangster film put Sean back into the spotlight, and he subsequently made a name for himself as a slightly older action star, apart from his younger days as Bond. Throughout the 90s, Sean had numerous hits in addition to 1996's The Rock. Some of these included The Hunt for Red October and Entrapment. He also had another hit in 96 with Dragonheart. In the year 2000, the Queen of England knighted Sean, and he received the American Film Institute's Lifetime Achievement Award in 2006. Even though Sean still faces criticism posthumously for the alleged abuse he perpetrated against first wife Diane, many still venerate the late Scottish actor. Diane Cilento passed away in 2011, and Sean was continuously questioned about his views on domestic violence up until his death. He claimed in a 1993 Vanity Fair interview he wasn't above hitting a woman, and these claims came back to haunt him in a big way. They became particularly notable once people started becoming interested in Sean's marriage to Diane Cilento. While he's been criticized posthumously and before his death for his misogynistic views, the character he popularized has also been criticized for his archaic views on women. James Bond has grown a lot as a character in the days since Sean Connery played him, as the producers have done a lot to fix some of the character's more problematic attributes regarding his tendency to objectify female peers. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know Sean Connery suffered severely from dementia during his final months? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.